My name is Anna Prowant, and I am a biologist and land use environmental planner in the County of San Diego Department of Parks and Recreation in the Resource Management Division. I am here today to talk to you about some mentors that I've had in my life, as well as some of my career path to get to where I am today. When I was little, I loved nature and I would constantly be outside wondering what all the different names of the plants and animals were. And I knew that I wanted to be an explorer. I wasn't quite sure what that entailed, but I knew I wanted to discover and explore new places and habitats. And when I was in college, I was an economics major at first, and I really wanted to take a science class, but a lot of my peers told me that they're very difficult and they take a long time. And so I was a little dissuaded because of that. And I decided one day, you know what, I'm going to take one anyway. And I took a zoology course and I absolutely loved it. And that's when I realized that perhaps some of my classmates weren't as excited about these classes because they weren't interested in the classes, not necessarily that the classes were so difficult that they weren't possible to get through. And so from there, it really just, I took as many, I switched my major and took as many science classes as I possibly could. And it was incredible. And I got my bachelor's degree in applied biological sciences with a focus in wildlife and restoration ecology from Arizona State University Polytechnic. While I was there, I had some incredible professors that I am so grateful that I had the opportunity to learn from. And one of those professors used to work at Arizona Game and Fish. And so he persuaded students to apply for internships because what they were doing is what we wanted to pursue. I told him that I didn't think I stood a chance. All of my experience thus far was in volunteer work, which I realize now meant a lot more than I was giving it credit for. And he told me to apply anyway. There were a lot of animals you could apply for, what you were interested in working with. And so I applied for tortoises and snakes and frogs, and not realizing that the entire herpetology department would be interviewing me in a panel interview because herpetology, the study of amphibians and reptiles, they just decided she's interested in all of them. We might as well interview her together. And so they were very gracious. It was an incredible interview, and they offered me the rented frog internship and also said, since I was so passionate about learning about other animals and working with them, that I would be able to do that as well. And it was the best summer of my life. The most difficult summer, but the best summer. I hiked all throughout the desert of Arizona, very hot, but it was incredible conducting threatened and endangered species surveys and helping these species to continue to survive in the wild. And from there, I decided I wanted to understand more about amphibians. So I applied to work in a lab at the university as an undergraduate student, working with other PhD students. And I became so enveloped in the data and the research they were completing that they actually offered to have me as a co-author on their paper, which was submitted to the Journal of Wildlife Diseases. And I was very grateful. It showed me how much they believed in me and that my hard work going up to that point wasn't unnoticed. And it meant so much to me. And from there, I graduated and I started my career in environmental consulting a week after graduation. And my first job site, I was construction monitoring. And so there were certain listed species, plants and animals that they wanted to make sure that we protected. And so I was trying to think of ways, how could I get others to understand and appreciate these animals and plants like I do? And so I went home that night and I made up these note cards for each species with the fun facts about them and a picture. And I took out my trusty laminator from college and I laminated them and brought them back to the job site. And everyone was so interested in learning about these animals. And then they felt they had more of a connection with them. And I realized that it's really not that people don't care. It's just they don't have the knowledge of it. And since I'm studying this, and this is what I've decided to focus my life on, it's part of my duty to share that knowledge. And I was just so grateful that they let me share that knowledge with them and that they were also interested. And from there, I worked as a consultant for many years, also doing volunteer work on the side. I decided that I was interested in planning. So I ended up getting a scholarship and going to UCSD to take classes on planning, which was absolutely, I'm so grateful for. And I also volunteered in Costa Rica and lived in a house with 14 strangers and conducted research on toucans and songbirds to help find ways to preserve the rainforest. And so all of the volunteer time that I was taking off of work, I was in close coordination with our HR, Human Resources Department. And so I called one day and said, I'm really interested in learning about different habitat types and animals and plants. And I'd like to transfer to somewhere else. Even though I grew up in San Diego, I wanted to see what else was out there. So they very graciously reached out to some project managers on the East Coast. And one project manager was interested in taking me on as her staff as long as I was able to find my own work for the time being and help them open an office out there. I was so excited that someone believed in me that as far as willing to take me on, they've never met me in person. So I immediately went onto our work site and I went into the resume section and I started looking for resumes that had specific species I really wanted to learn about. And then I cold called those project managers to see if they had any openings or needed any help since we all worked for the same company. And that's how I was able to travel all throughout the United States, conducting surveys for bats and birds and wetland delineations, habitat assessments. It was incredible. And I'm so grateful for the time that I was able to do that. And then I realized I was getting homesick. And so I requested a transfer back to San Diego County, which has the most listed species and the most biodiversity out of any county in the United States. And I just felt like that was ultimately my place that I needed to be. Even though I had an incredible mentor in my manager, and she allowed me to mentor other young biologists, which I was extremely grateful for, teaching them how to complete surveys, how to write reports, field safety. It meant a lot to me that she had that faith in me, that she could see that I wanted to share the knowledge with others and she was willing to let me, and while also sharing her knowledge with me. So when I came back to San Diego, I continued environmental consulting, but realized I really wanted to work at the county and see how a government agency runs. And so I applied and was made, my position was biologist and land use environmental planner in planning and development services. I am so grateful for my time that I spent there. I had incredible mentors there as well. And then eventually ended up where I am today in the County of San Diego Parks and Recreation Department. Again, I am so grateful to have mentors that really care. And it just makes me realize that if you're passionate and you show that you're passionate and you work hard, that others will see that in you and they will want to work with you to complete the same goal that you both have. And so I guess ending this conversation, one item I would suggest is to never give up on yourself. Believe in your dreams and you can do them. And just finding incredible mentors along the way. I would highly recommend if you're interested volunteering in while you're still in school. I had no idea how many incredible programs there are throughout San Diego County alone that you can volunteer with when you're in grade school and junior high and high school, just to see if you're interested in different career paths before you move to college. And so I would recommend following your dreams and never giving up on yourself, and you will achieve whatever you want to. Thank you so much.